saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class when I was 16. And I looked up the fact before I walked up here because I knew that you would ask.
Okay. That's not true, but it also doesn't answer the question. So let's try to stay focused on one false claim at a time if we can, because we might get bogged down.
Hi guys, my name is Favor.
My name is Zainab.
And today we'll be checking out a video together, basically a debate where Matt Walsh destroys an unprepared activist. So let's get right into the video.
So you've talked a lot about the mental illness and depressed and anxious population in the trans community, but you don't talk about the happy people in the trans community and how these preventative measures of, let's say, like puberty and the surgeries that go for gender affirmation and how these are life-changing and life-saving. I know many people...
How do you know?
Oh, okay, 1 second, if I can finish my conversation.
Okay.
Many people in my life have had these interventions made, and it's saved their lives. I can list dozens of people in my life. So what do you have to say for...
You can list dozens of people who had surgeries and drugs as children and would be dead today if they hadn't?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Dozens of people who have had interventions, including gender-affirming, let's say, therapies, yes, hormones, surgeries, that have made their lives better. I'm not saying it didn't force them to commit suicide, but it made their lives better. What do you have to say for the happy trans community?
I guess I would throw back at you first, because the burden of proof is on you on this one. And I'll explain why the burden of proof is on you. Because, as I went over in the talk, for thousands of years, human beings existed, and there was no such thing as trying to medically transition people into another gender.
That's very true.
And as far as we know, there was no suicide epidemic because of it. Mm-hmm. And then in the last few years, people like yourself have come along and said, we desperately need to do this, or people will be in despair and they might kill themselves. So you are making a claim that contradicts common sense, science, biology, also the entire experience of the whole history of the human race. And so what that means is that the burden of proof is on you to support it. And so I'm going to ask you, you said that people need this stuff so they can live happier lives and potentially it'd be life-saving, you said even. Aside from your anecdotes of your friends who told you so, how do you know that?
Okay, so thinking back to when I was 16 in an anatomy class, when I learned that transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with. And you can look that up. That's a fact.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I will look that up and I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick and look?
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No.
This girl whipped out the phone and said, yeah, it's a quick Google search, and searched absolutely nothing. And you can see nobody's having any of this BS. Matt's not having it. This fellow's not having it. This older lady who's, from a generation where they had real issues going on, these people aren't having it back here. This girl's just laughing it off. Listen, you've just said something absolutely ridiculous, that a man can be born with a woman's brain, and now people are looking at you funny and calling you out on your BS. And listen, ladies, gentlemen, I am no fashionista by any means. I'm not here to shame anybody on fashion. But I will say one thing, same if I went to a business interview. If I was going to an event where I had the complete opposing view of the person I was going to try to debate, ask a question to, and I knew that said person was very knowledgeable about the topic at hand, and I also knew that this event would be filmed, I would not show up with a tie-dye dolphin shirt. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
Look it up.
God.
It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class when I was 16. And I looked up the fact before I walked up here because I knew that you would ask.
Okay. That's not true, but it also doesn't answer the question. So let's try to stay focused on one false claim at a time if we can, because we might get bogged down.
Okay.
So you actually started by saying that blocking puberty, which is chemical castration of a child,
Just one example, yeah.
yeah, is life-saving.
It can be.
How do you know?
How?
Because there are children who have been suicidal that have had these interventions made.
What children? How do you know? And how many children have had that done
Me personally,
and then
I
are still
haven't met
suicidal?
children. Me personally, I haven't met enough trans children to answer that question.
Okay.
But I know
You
that
are
the
making-
research exists.
You're making this statement, you're stating it as a fact in front of all these people. There must be a reason, there must be something that you encountered that led you to this rather radical conclusion that to save a child's life, you have to chemically castrate him.
Not every child. No, sir.
Okay, well, that is what you just said. The drugs we give to kids for puberty blockers, so-called puberty blockers, originally are cancer drugs used to treat prostate cancer. They're also used to chemically castrate sex offenders and child rapists. Now we give them to physically healthy kids. You're saying that we need to do that or they will die. And so one last time I'm going to ask you,
just
what evidence do you have
crazy.
of that remarkable claim?
I don't think I claimed that every child would benefit from that.
Well, no, I didn't say you did.
Okay,
You
well,
said
no,
puberty
you did,
blockers
you did.
you said puberty blockers are life-saving. What
I
evidence do
said
you have for that?
they can be.
So
How?
The
how do you
evidence
know?
is the encounters with patients who have had these procedures done, and it has saved their, I don't want to say it saved their lives, but it has made their lives better. I can't confirm whether or not they're alive right this second, but there are children that it has helped. So what do you have to say for the happy trans community who has benefited from these procedures? That's my
I
question
guess what I
for
have
you.
to say is that your entire question is built on a whole stack of false premises that you can't begin to even remotely defend. So it's a faulty question from the start. I reject your premise. I absolutely reject that there are any kids who need to be chemically castrated in order to be happy.
Okay, let's...
I reject that.
I feel like she's being delusional, really, because what? I mean, I also had anatomy classes, right? And our lecturers never told us anything like the brain of a cis man is similar to the brain of a trans man. Like, that is outrageous. Like, what kind of... I mean, if you're born a lady, you were born with everything that a lady should be born with. Now, how does it now make sense that you say someone that is a biological lady, because she transitioned to a man, she automatically tends to have similar brain structure like that of a man?
Well, if you're born a girl, a baby girl, because from a baby girl you turn into a lady.
Yeah.
That is when you get to your puberty. That is when you turn into a lady. How can a woman be born as a woman and has a brain of a man? It's not
Please.
possible.
Like, she should make it make sense. And she was really arguing that point. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay, she's saying this. Does she mean that she has the brain of a man?
Yeah. She probably means that if she wants to transition today, her brain will automatically change to that of a man.
It's impossible.
It doesn't make sense.
She's just saying rubbish.
And
Dadash.
oh my God, like, people that impose this stuff on children that are not even grown up to the extent of actually making wise decisions for themselves, and then you allow a child to chop off their genitals just because they feel like that's not how they are meant to be. It's disheartening, really, because if that child grows up and doesn't feel that way anymore, then what happened? Things are happening. That's what I can say, really, because this is, in as much as, and the annoying part is that these things are actually happening. There are stuff that are actually happening. But as much as I try to think about it, it really does not make sense to me. Like, wow. If you are thinking about doing this to your child, please erase that mentality and that thought from your mind, because I don't know, but I feel like you most likely will regret that in the long run, and then your child will hate you for that. Like Zainab said, really. you shouldn't. No, I don't think anybody should think about something like that.
Well, so there are some parents that are trying to think about that right now, because if a lady like this will be thinking about this,
I know,
there
right?
are, do you know how many parents will be thinking about doing this?
We've said what we think about this video. Please let us know what you think. Do you think this lady is right? If you think she's right, let us know in the comment section. Although we will not agree with you. We agree with them if they say the lady's right. But if you think she's right, still let us know. And if you think Matt Walsh tackled the matter reasonably, also please let us know in the comment section. And please don't forget to like this video, subscribe so that you can get more of our videos, and also share with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.